And welcome back to another Who Would Win. This week is the video game final bosses of some of the most popular video games ever made. Ganondorf from Zelda, all the Zeldas, and Bowser from Mario, all the Marios. These are two that are, I've heard a lot about them. I've played some of the Mario games. I played a couple of the Zelda games, a little bit of them. I've never played all of them. I don't know didn't know a great deal about, like, say, Ganondorf going in, but I knew a bit about Bowser. So, just to clarify a few things here, I'm basically going with any and all abilities that were listed. Even if they're obscure, they still technically count, kind of like how Mario's obscure abilities do technically count. Just when he fought Sonic in that death battle, we see on Screw Attack, they do cancel each other out. We'll see if that's the case here. But we'll start with Bowser. Now, to find out his height and to find out his size, first off, he's a Koopa. He's the King Koopa, more or less. He's kind of, he looks basically like a combination of a dinosaur, a turtle, a dragon, and a few other things mixed in there. Now, his height was a little hard to figure out, but because his size varies very often, and he can also alter his size generally at will, especially when he becomes Giga Bowser, which we'll get to that. But I found one of the few things I found to kind of determine an idea of his standard size is that he generally stands about twice as big as Mario, which I found Mario's height is about 5'1", which means that Bowser stands roughly about 10'2", give or take something, in an average form. Again, smaller, bigger, all depending. Now, Bowser is extremely aggressive, a very angry individual, very selfish in nature. He really just wants everything for himself. He is a very rage-fueled ruler, and is very upset when things don't go his way. He does show a little bit of caring for his men, and he has an obsession with Princess Peach. Okay, but there might be some level of good, as he has joined heroes for, to save the world, because he can't rule the world if it's already being ruled or destroyed. But screw that, we're not talking about that. We're talking about all his abilities and stuff right now. And one of the key ones we've always seen is that he has his Fire Breath. His Fire Breath is one of the key abilities he has. He can dispense that in like fireballs or a giant stream of fire. He has the ability to rain fire down. He can create a blue homing flame. Now, let's be clear. Blue fire is in fact hotter than normal fire. Just given it's a higher concentration, I believe. But I can't remember the exact science behind that. Again, if they ever do that fight and talking about blue fire, if they ever talk about any sort of blue fire in Screw Attack at some point, they'll explain what the difference is. But homing fire, so it homes in on its target. Now, his resistance to fire is a little hit and miss. Sometimes fire and lava does not hurt him. Other times he's died to it. So it's inconsistent, but I think it's all dependent on the situation. For instance, I think that, and again, I haven't played these games in a while, but for maybe some scientific purpose, it's possible that when he's expending a lot of his fire, he loses a bit of his resistance. It's possible he has an extremely high core temperature, and I mean like flame-high core temperature, extremely hot core temperature, and when he's expending his flames, he temporarily reduces his core temperature, making him more susceptible to fire attacks, or, lava, or things like those. I'm speculating. Who knows on that? But it is very interesting. He's also, but that being said, he's been defeated and theoretically killed, but never for very long, to the point where he's been, and I'm reading this off, crushed, blown up, electrocuted, fallen extreme distances, like say for distance from the moon, flash frozen and shattered, and yet he continually gets back up. And it's been hinted, or at least explained, that in the Paper Mario, that he more or less has infinite lives, which essentially means that dies, resurrects, more or less. So I guess that means that he's more or less immortal. I guess. That could be up for interpretation. Obviously, in the game, that might just mean that he has infinite lives, he will not die or anything like that, but the way they explain it is that he has infinite lives. Maybe he can be defeated, but he cannot be killed. Now, he's strong enough to literally move an island. Now, I have not seen the island that he moved, but even on a small scale, and that being said, an island can be literally this big with that around, with a little tree growing out of there, like a little plant. That's technically an island, but obviously he must have moved a very large island. That's a extreme feat. That's like I don't even know how much power is behind that, per se, because I don't know the size of the island, but we'll have to say it was a pretty decent-sized island, I'm assuming. Like, it was the size of Donkey Kong Island, because if that's the case, that's a lot. Because you got to factor in an island, everything on top, everything on the bottom. Think of it kind of like an iceberg, except one circular sensation and form of island, and man, you and leave it alone. Nah, I'm going to churches. But yeah, that's still like tens of thousands of tons. That's a very impressive amount to push. And his strength is also compiled in the fact that oftentimes his physical fighting style is often like talking about slashing, punching, biting, clawing, things along those lines. He can curl himself into a shell for a defense. He also has spikes on it. He can, roll over just like a rollout top from Pokemon, more or less. And he's it's surprising. He's a very fast in terms of a melee fighter, even though he doesn't have a lot of speed to him. He's actually a very fast melee fighter, which is interesting. He's also an extremely good swimmer, surprisingly, but he does not like swimming. He says it's not a favorite activity of his. A few other things to talk about. He has a very long, very large hammer. They explained the hammer. It's like what the Koopas use, but he actually has a very large hammer he can throw, which if it's Bowser sized, it's probably weighs maybe a good, good couple 100 pounds, and that would hurt being hit by that. A few other things to note on. He can create shockwaves hitting the ground. That's okay. That's impressive. Now, this is something. It's been stated or shown in Paper Mario 1000 Year Door and Super Mario RPG that his claws and fangs contain poison. What the consistency of the poison is, I'm not sure. I'm certain it's enough to eventually kill someone, but it's probably enough to weaken them as they get infected, and then it goes even farther. But therefore, so that's interesting. This guy has poison fangs and claws. He has an obscure lightning power that he uses more or less from Hotel Mario and Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario 64. I honestly, it was too obscure. I mean, he has a lightning power, so I'm going to assume he maybe summons a lightning bolt or something like that. That's basically all I'm going to say he does, because frankly, I couldn't find anything else on that. And he can teleport. He can teleport. It's not known what the limit of his teleportation is, and I believe, again, in Hotel Mario, he teleported Peach away to the secret hideout that you kept her at. He, in Super Mario Galaxy and in Super Mario 64, he, anytime you got close enough to him, he would just teleport away. So he more or less looks like he's capable of teleporting, like, at least a good couple 100 miles or something like that. Because I don't know how far the hideout was, but I'm certain it was at least a good couple 100 miles away, or something along those lines. A good miles away. So he's got an interesting teleport ability. It's stated in the Mario instruction booklet, that he's a skilled dark magic user. And he's turned people into blocks of the mushroom into blocks and objects, meaning he's capable of not technically transfiguring, but transmuting transfiguration, meaning he can turn an object more or less, it's transfiguring. He can turn an object into something else, more or less. Doesn't even have to be a living object. Again, people into blocks. That's not a level of magic you screw with. Also, he can do energy blast. I believe he can do energy blast. Actually, no, it does not say he can do it. I forgot. He can't do energy blast. But he also can turn people into Koopas or Koopa Troopers, or turn a Koopa Trooper into a frog. Again, transmuting. And he also turns someone into a boulder at one point. That was fascinating. He can shrink things, too, which is interesting. That was from Mario Party 4, capable of shrinking something down. Don't know what the limit of that is, but that's still interesting. And then we have Giga Bowser, which is, I can't remember how he taps in this. It's a very limited time. I think it's probably like only a minute time frame that he can use his ability, Giga Bowser. But he literally doubles in size, meaning at 10'2", he turns into a 20'4" dragon, turtle, Koopa, whatever, giant version of him. He's also much more badass looking. His physical strength, super size, everything is basically heightened. However, some of his abilities have actually weakened. But at the same time, some of his melee is weakened. Like maybe I think his slat. They didn't describe it extremely well. Some of his attacks were reduced when he used it in the He didn't even. I can't remember. I didn't write down where Giga Bowser showed up. In fact, he only showed up once or twice, but still. Some of his melee is reduced, but first off, he's just physically a beast. He can still swipe and punch and charge very effectively. But at the same time, for all the little weaknesses he did in fact get, he made up for it by a lot of his melee has now been enhanced with like magical abilities. For instance, he has a smash down, which I assume is like when he's doing this. That's a smash down. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. It now freezes something. It freezes its target. He has an explosive forward smash. So smash or smash explodes, and then he has that's all they actually explained. But he had one other one he can do, and apparently this is from the anime or an animated movie. He can literally shapeshift into anything he wants, and he can alter his size to anything he wants, more or less. So he could essentially turn into Godzilla in Bowser form. Again, not invincible though. In fact, he's been defeated obviously in all the Mario games, more or less. He's been defeated, except when you're playing as him. Even then, he's not the hardest guy to beat. Just in terms, he loses almost all the time. But he's still a formidable bad guy. He's still a main villain in Mario. So yeah, that's Bowser. And then Ganondorf. This will actually be shorter because there was a lot less information. I mean, there was more information. There was a good amount of information, but it's still technically less. So Ganondorf. Now, don't know his weight, and I don't know Bowser's weight. I assume Bowser's actually probably weighs a good, 500, maybe even 1,000 pounds, standing at 10 foot that as a giant turtle. So I will go with 1,000 pounds for that. Again, you can tell I may do research and may try to look up all the information, but I'm not going to be as strict with the book as possible. Ganondorf. Ganondorf stands roughly, on average, 7 foot 6.5 inches. And at that height and the way he normally looks, I'm guessing he's probably weighs about 250, 300 pounds, but mostly muscle and armor. Now he is ruthless. He is calculating. He is cold. He has a power lust. He has the Triforce of Power on his hand. That's why he has a power lust, or he has a power lust, and therefore got the Triforce of Power. His mental stability has been called into question, though, but he's an extremely good strategist. However, he has an honor code. He will not attack a down opponent. He'll wait for his opponent to get back up. He will fight, courageously one-on-one. He will commend someone for standing up for them, even though if he knows that they are going to die or they know they're going to die. He's even spared people in that, of course. Now, he has a Triforce of Power. Now, Triforce of Power, the only real thing I've been able to gather from it is that it grants him nigh invulnerability and nigh immortality. He's not completely immortal. He's not completely invulnerable. But it's extremely hard to hurt him. To the point where, only magical things like the sword, like Zelda's sword or things like that have been able to really hurt him. Because they're on an equal level of power to the Triforce of Courage. Or, Triforce of Power. And Link has the Triforce of Courage and Wisdom. That being said, though, he literally has countless minions. He can summon more minions because of the Triforce. He can make a minion basically indestructible. He can resurrect the dead. He's can freeze enemies in red fire. I don't know why it's red. He can fly. He can warp. He can warp people and move in and out of a portal to another dimension. He's strong enough to literally, I believe one of the strongest feats we ever saw him do was literally shatter an entire castle floor, provided there was nothing underneath there. So, the whole hollow and physics and physicality aside. He's also capable of using Phantom Ganon, which is a specter who's pretty badass looking. And one of his signature techniques is called the Dead Man's Volley, which is essentially Dead Man's Volley is like volleyball. Obviously, for all you watching, you probably know what I'm talking about. So it's back and forth, until eventually, I'm assuming maybe the technique is probably charges back and forth too. It's getting stronger and stronger, so it's harder to maintain. But it's basically back and forth until someone fucks up, more or less. It's like, oh crap, and then the opening's made. He's also the Phantom Ganon is extremely feared individual. Ganon is also he can take the form of a pig demon or pig monster known as Ganon. Now he can also do magical blasts, summon monsters. create seal or do seal individuals, destroy seals, take possession of others, exist as a fire entity, which is basically only in the form of his face, create powerful energy barriers that would take quite a bit of energy to actually destroy, transfigure individuals, survive lethal attacks, is a skilled swordsman, and has strength equal to Link. Now that's one of the key things. He has a strength equal to Link. Now, Link, as far as we know, has never truly... We don't know his full strength of Link, but he's lifted granite, and again, they explain the weight. I think he's... I would mean he's at least capable of lifting like 10 tons over his head. Or 10,000 pounds. I think it was 10 tons or 10,000 pounds. I can't remember. I'm going to say 10 tons. We'll go with 10 tons. No, 10,000 pounds. That was it. That was what it is. 10,000 pounds. Which is still 5 tons. Which is impressive. So, again, but Ganondorf is also extremely arrogant, extremely cocky, extremely brash, and again, not altogether there. Like, when none of his plans that he'd been planning for God knows how long went to hit cinders, he basically just laughed it off unstably. Just like, it's like, so he's not altogether there. And, of course, he's been defeated multiple times. However, you look at those combatants, and you're like, okay, so Bowser more or less has infinite lives, he'll always come back. Ganondorf, nigh invulnerable, nigh immortal, and somehow always comes back, usually sealed and defeated. So this fight's not going to be a fight who's going to kill the other. It's going to be the fight who's going to put the other down and rule the kingdom until the other one comes back. And that's how this fight's going to be. It's more or less going to be. They are trying to conquer places, and, they get in each other's way. So the way the fight breaks down, Bowser flat out, right off the bat, has the edge in physicality. In terms, first off, just in size alone, he's bigger and stronger, and physically, I think, tougher than, well, okay, maybe not tougher due to nigh invulnerability, nigh invulnerability, but he's physically strong. Bowser can move an island. 10 tons is an impressive, or 5 tons is an impressive, 10,000 pounds is an impressive feat. It's not moving an island feat. Bowser is just a stronger being in general, as opposed to Ganondorf, and I would honestly go on that I would say that he's probably a fiercer hand-to-hand combat fighter, just because we don't see Ganondorf usually from what I've seen, using physical hand-to-hand combat. Sword fighting is one thing, and that's probably how we try to counteract just the physical attacks from Bowser. But Bowser's just a far more aggressive, quicker, in terms of just melee hand-to-hand fighting. So there's that. Now, that being said, I don't think much of the physicality would hurt Ganondorf. I think maybe, and again, nigh invulnerability. I think Bowser might be able to pierce his skin in normal form, maybe, but I wouldn't go on record saying that. I think that's possible, but unlikely. Especially when you factor in things like, energy barrier from Ganondorf. That would take a lot. I think Bowser can get through the energy barrier, but that would take a lot. And I don't think it's anything like regular Bowser, maybe. Oh, that's actually not true. It is a magical barrier, but it's possible he can teleport himself in the barrier to continue the fight. I'm not sure how the barrier truly works. But that being said, the teleportation thing is kind of by dimensional travel. Ganondorf can fly, which Bowser can't, so that means he can just, as a strategist and a cunning, calculating individual, he can more just float in place for a while and just fire energy blasts, summon minions, ice. Which, minions, frankly, he can make minions indestructible, but I think he prefers, just doing other things. Bowser, I think he can take care of the minions, incinerate them and whatnot. Lightning ability, summon a lightning bolt down, whatever. The energy blast, I think Bowser's shell is strong enough to take care of that. And in terms of the transfiguring, honestly, I think their transfiguring abilities basically counter each other. They try to turn one of them into the other. They're more or less just going to change themselves back after that. If they're both skilled transfigures, that's going to be a hard word. That's hard to say. Transfigure users, we'll say. If they're both skilled users of transfiguration, then they counter each other out. That just happens that way. But they both have abilities the other day. Like, for instance, the ice is countered by the flames. That's a given. Ganondorf has magical energy blast, which I think Bowser's shell, I think, tucking in there, you can counter that. Because they don't actually say if they do anything other than being just magical blast of energy. I think they're just magical blast of energy, in which case I think Bowser's tough enough to take the hits, because he's a tough individual. Bowser is one of the most heavy-duty and physically strongest of the Mario characters. But Bowser doesn't have much in the way of hitting Ganondorf, and even then, Ganondorf can literally just stay in the air with a force field up and be like, haha, lightning bolt ain't gonna do anything. Homing fire! Oh my god! That might hurt me if it could get to me. So, yeah, that shield is one of the big things. That shield is a factor where Ganondorf really has edge. Whereas, you know, all he can do... That being said, he's not going to keep the shield up forever, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I think he needs to, like, attack without the shield. But I can't be certain on that. He'll eventually bring the shield down, however. But he's more or less... Ganondorf is going to stay out of his way. Which leads into Giga Bowser. And also, you know, Phantom Ganon will basically just retaliate any fireballs back, which... That being said, Bowser might have a problem. If Phantom Ganon is deadballing the fireballs back, and with my theory is even somewhat plausible, where his core temperature decreases is why his resistance goes down, that could cause a problem for Bowser. However, if Giga Bowser gets involved, first off, Giga Bowser is far larger, and if he has alteration, he can alter his size, or alter his form. All he has to do is transform into something that can fly, get in there, and then transform back and smash down the force field in a supersized form. Yeah, Giga Bowser, I'm positive, can get through the force field. And then it gets down into the frickin' melee count. Again, Giga Bowser cannot last very long. I'm going to say it maybe a minute tops. So he needs to really... This is basically where Bowser needs to go all out. Now, one thing I should mention is they've kind of dumbed down Bowser over the years. Also, by the way, that hammer, I don't think it's going to matter. Again, it's that damn energy shield. Thinking about all this, if it wasn't for that energy shield, honestly, I would have more than likely given it to Bowser if it wasn't for that damn energy shield. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not giving it to Bowser. I'm just saying I'm progressing the fight. I'm just saying that energy shield really changed up the entire level of the fight. Now, that being said, Giga Bowser can probably easily destroy the energy shield, especially if you're to summon the hammer and just go, boom, want me to put the hammer down? Boom! Yeah, like that. So Giga Bowser, once that's going on and he's actually got a hold of Ganondorf, he's going to just go to town on Ganondorf, and Phantom Ganon will just be pummeled. But he's gonna have to. He knows he's got a time limit, so he's gonna have to be quick about it. He's going to pummel, plus all his other abilities. Let's be clear. Just because he has those few abilities I mentioned, all his other abilities remain intact. His fire is probably God knows how much stronger now. So the real question comes down to, is that 9 invulnerability, again, 9 invulnerability, not true invulnerability, but 9 invulnerability, is that 9 invulnerability enough to withstand Giga Bowser? Ooh, I think it would withstand the freezing downward smack. The explosions would rattle him. Explosions would definitely rattle him. And if his claws are still poisonous, that would be a problem for Ganondorf after that. Because there's no doubt about it. I'm pretty certain that Giga Bowser can actually legitimately hurt him. But once then the poison kicks in, especially with larger claws, more poison. And then if he's going to bring out a fire breath or possibly a lightning bolt, that's going to hurt him a lot. But I think that's where the problem is going to be, is that it's going to hurt him a lot. But Ganondorf is going to be able to survive that physical beating. However, once that man's run up, it's not like, say, some other characters where I think he's just, completely out of breath or anything like that. No, it's like Sonic, actually, where he's fine after that. He's still in peak physical shape, but he just doesn't have all those abilities, and I think it would take him a while to be able to use Giga Bowser form again. But with that being said, once the poison starts taking effect, Ganondorf is progressively going to be getting weaker, even with 9 vulnerability. So, and again, 9 vulnerability is more or less immune to physical harm. It doesn't say he's immune to disease or anything like that. It never said that. So let's be clear. No, poisons and diseases, I'm guessing can still probably work. 9 vulnerability just means physical harm. And 9 immortality, too. So, more or less, basically he could probably live forever. He's just not truly immortal, that he can't be defeated / killed, at least temporarily. So, it's going to be who outlasts who. And in the long term, I think if you factor in Giga Bowser and poison and all that, he's going to outlast Ganondorf in terms of a physical fight, because Ganondorf is just going to get progressively weaker. But that being said, it's not an easy victory for Bowser whatsoever. In fact, Bowser is very capable of losing this fight, especially if, because he's not anywhere near as intelligent as Ganondorf. He's that dead volley is he's gonna be tricky. Any other fire-based techniques are going to be a little tricky against him, and I'm certainly can use other fire-based techniques. The ice don't matter much. The energy, and maybe if he's not in his shell form, he cannot take an energy blast. It's possible. However, I'm gonna give this to Bowser for a long haul fight, but I'm gonna say it's maybe like a 65-35 in favor. Not even. Yeah, no, I'd go about 60-40. 60-40 in favor of Bowser. I'm going to go, winner of this is Bowser 60% of the time, but Ganondorf, strategy can only get you so far, and Giga Bowser, I think, is really the trump card that does trump that barrier, because that barrier is a bitch to get through. I can't, again, I've never played the games really enough to see the barrier, but reading the barrier, watching a few things with the barrier is not easy to get through, but Giga Bowser, I think, can get through it and then lay a smack down on Ganondorf. So again, 60% Bowser and 40% Ganondorf. So that's my thoughts on this who would win. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put it in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. If you have an idea for a who would win you'd like me to do, by all means, put that in the comments below too. I'll do a review of that at some point. So tomorrow's going to be, I'm not actually sure which one I'm going to be seeing, American Ultra or Hitman Agent 47. I'm planning on Agent 47, but if Mark's going to join me, it might actually be American Ultra. We'll see, though. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.